Fox News alert, former Trump campaign staffer George Papadopoulos is on Capitol Hill today. He's there for a closed-door interview before a joint House panel. This comes nearly 1 year after he became the very first person to plead guilty in the Mueller probe, admitting to lying to federal investigators. Republicans are hoping he can bolster their case regarding political bias in the run-up to the Trump-Russia investigation. But Democrats are looking to press him on his communications with a former foreign professor who told Papadopoulos in 2016 that Russians had dirt on Hillary Clinton, and in the form of thousands of hacked emails. Papadopoulos has recently been implying on social media that he was set up. Here's GOP Congressman Mark Meadows on what he's hoping to learn today.
I mean, obviously, George Papadopoulos was the reason why this whole Russia investigation was open, and that was the predicate for the FBI. Hopefully, we'll learn today exactly, what was said, what was not said. And I think what we'll find is that this was not someone who was colluding with Russia. Quite the opposite.
Jason?
The questioning will be led on the Republican side by John Ratcliffe, former U.S. prosecutor, congressman out of Texas. There will be others in the room there as well. This is a better setting to do this because you can go for 1 hour each side, unlike the 5 minutes you get in a public. You go 1 hour at the Democrats, 1 hour at the Republicans, and vice versa, and you can continue as long as you want. That's why sometimes these things go for 8-9 hours.
Sure.
All the procedural stuff that happens. The timeline is one of the key things here. They've had a host of administration officials, FBI officials trying to claim that this investigation started at this particular date in July, but there's evidence that suggests that's wrong, really wrong. And so the questioning will be in part about what did he say and not to say. It's not trying to rehash whether or not he lied to federal officials, which he evidently did and done some time for, but what was the timeline like? And were there other factors, other people, while he was overseas, that were engaging with him to potentially set him up and then justify this FISA application?
Why does it matter if it started in July or not, what you just said? Why does it matter if it started earlier?
And this is key to what the Inspector General's looking at. Remember, he does this 560-page report and says, I find no, impetus to affect what they did based on bias. But what you can look at is, did these same FBI officials use time? Did they use resources? Did they spend money? Did they pay informants? And why did they do that? And there's a lot of concern that they were targeting a political campaign and Donald Trump, as opposed to following the leads based on investigations that may have, encompassed this person or not. That's why the timeline becomes so important, because Peter Strzok in particular started spending time and making resources and sending these text messages that they can compare the timelines.
Before anyone did anything is what you're saying. Before anyone did anything suspicious, they were already investigating.
Before they had evidence, were they actually allocating resources to try to do this? That's the question.
Kennedy?
It's interesting because I look at this and I think, what would some operatives on Hillary Clinton's campaign, what would they have done if they were in the same circumstances? And I think there are a lot of people who work in this competitive environment who want to make their boss happy and who want to deliver something. Unfortunately, with both sides, they reached into international filth in order to get opposition research on their opponents. And, was George Papadopoulos goaded into breaking the law, or was he somehow, plied with liquor and then given this information so he would spill what he knew in order to justify this? Working, or rather talking to people who were actively working with the FBI. There are still a lot of things we don't know about this, but so many questions on both sides, and how the federal government is able to investigate people and what means they are willing to use and they're capable of using to extract information without someone's knowledge. And that leads to gross abuses of power, regardless of who is in power.
Adrian?
Look, I think George Papadopoulos is trying to get a book deal right now. He might be trying to get a television deal. We know that he enjoys the limelight. Yeah. Exactly. He enjoys the limelight. He's been using his Twitter feed recently to peddle some conspiracy theories. And from what we understand today, he will be trying to say that this was like a deep state conspiracy theory. So I don't know. This just to me highlights the importance of why we've got to get to the end of the Mueller investigation. We've got to figure out what happened, and hopefully.
Do you think,
the Mueller investigation
he was paid by the Russians somehow, though?
I don't know. I mean,
that would be, then you're talking about collusion when you've got people who are being paid by foreign entities in order to affect the outcome of a campaign. Have we seen that yet?
No, but what we have seen is that you've got people like George.
Isn't that the point of the investigation?
Well, you've got people like George Papadopoulos who are more than happy to go in and testify because they enjoy the limelight, and I think that's what
that's unfair. You know what? That's very unfair. He's called by Congress, summoned by Congress to come testify for the first time, and you're saying he's doing it because he likes the limelight?
Well, look at his Twitter feed. Look at his Twitter feed. He's been peddling conspiracy theories.
You have too much time on your hand if you're watching the Papadopoulos Twitter feed. But that's terribly,
I'm not watching
this is
Twitter.
unfair.
I'm reading about
I think it is unfair to somebody to try to cast dispersion upon him. I don't think he asked for this. I don't think his life is better because he's been thrown into this predicament that he has. But I do think he has something he wants to share. And there's a lot of evidence out there that the highest echelons of the FBI were acting inappropriately. And that's why the Inspector General doesn't write what he's written. And when you look at what's going on with the FISA abuses and the other allegations out there, that is a story that needs to continue to be written.
All right. One thing we do want to say, in case people are wondering, Papadopoulos, we told them, had lied to federal investigators. He has done his short time, his brief time that was the punishment
2 weeks,
for that.
yep.
So he's, 2 weeks, and so now he's going back to the Hill upon summons.